Hey everybody, my name's Ryan Gaul.
And I'm Matt Catanzano. We have real people with first-hand ghost stories who are going to zoom in with us, and they're going to tell us the story, and we're going to listen to the story. Because, Ryan, what do we love?
We love ghost stories. Kenny has a story for us, and
I do.
let's just let him rip, Matt.
All right, let's let it rip. Okay, so this is about right around, I won't say how old I am, but I'm a year out of college. And I went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, about an hour, 3 hours north of LA. And after college, I came down and was living in Southern California, and often went up on the weekends because I had a lot of friends who were still there. And so this was right around, I think, like Memorial Day weekend. A good buddy of mine who was like, "Hey, let's go up for the weekend." I'm like, "Okay, great. Go up." It's kind of like a normal Saturday night. If you're not familiar with San Luis Obispo, it's very much a college town on like during the school year. There's like a downtown with a bunch of bars, and nobody really drives, so that you can walk to the bars and walk back to wherever you're staying. It's kind of a small town. And so my friend, we'll say his name is Bob for the sake of this story.
Okay.
And so Bob and I, the bar isn't closed, and we were staying, like, if we're in downtown San Luis Obispo, he and I were staying in separate places, but we were staying in kind of around the same area, which was a little north of downtown. So we were like walking home, and he said, "Hey, on the way home, is it cool if I stop by my old apartment? I want to see where I used to live." And I'm like, "Okay, sure, whatever. I mean, we're all going that way." And I should preface that we had had a few. So we went up there. We went up there to have a drink or to party. So we had had some drinks, but this does not hinder this story at all. This is not like we were drunk. I don't want this to come across as like, oh, when the ghost shows up, you'd be like, "Oh no, you guys were just drunk."
This is after the bars have closed, though? Is this?
Yeah. So this
So
is like,
you've
it's
closed
like
out the night.
yeah, it's like 1:45. A lot of bars in California, as you know, like don't close right at 2. They close before.
Yeah.
So we're walking, and there was talk about maybe stopping to get something to eat. So he said, "Let's just stop by this place I used to live." And I'm like, "All right." So walking by, and we're getting to this house, and it's like the way San Luis Obispo is too is very much, it's a college town, so it's like a lot of once you get away from the downtown, it's a lot of cool, like old, like 1920s style homes, some Spanish style homes. The homes are all really cool. They're all different. It's not like a planned out community. And so we're walking, and then he goes, "Oh, just so you know, before we get to my old house, I just want to tell you that it's haunted." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, it's totally haunted." I'm like, "Okay." And like, I got to give some context into who Bob is. Bob is somebody who to say he's eccentric would be would be I can't get the superlative, but we he and I met because a girl asked me to study for a test, and I was like, "Oh, it's on. I got a study date tonight. This is great." She told me to come over to her house. I get there, and then he comes there at the same time. And so we both thought we were having like a study date with this girl. And then we ended up being like, "Oh, you're great. I like this guy." So he and I became friends. Don't talk to the girl again.
Wait, she
Anyway,
asked both of you to come at the same time to
yeah,
help
I
her
don't know.
study?
Yeah, I guess. And it wasn't a hard class. It was theater history. I'm like, "What are we doing?"
Theater history. She needed 2 dudes to come over to.
Yeah, I know. So we finally get to the house, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's haunted." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." He's like, "I'm just gonna have a cigarette real quick." So he smokes a cigarette. I'm sitting down on the, like, it's like a duplex, and then next to the duplex there is like another, like a triplex. So there's like, it's like multiple units there.
Okay.
So I sit down.
Just so we're clear
Yeah.
on how you said you had had a few. would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 in drunkenness, where are you?
Oh, I'm definitely not like, I'm just like a little buzzed.
Okay,
He
so you're not
he
drunk.
was probably on the like drunker end of things.
Got it. Got
I
it.
was like, I'd had a couple and we had walked. At that point, we had probably walked like half a mile, so it had burned a little bit off. So I was definitely like had my faculties and stuff.
You're stone cold.
Oh, I wouldn't say stone cold, but I'm not I'm not hammered or even close. I'm just like I'm having a good time. So we're getting to the good shit here.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and he's talking. We're just having like a talk, and I can see out of the corner of my eye, like if you can like look in your periphery and like whatever you can click. So Ryan, there's like a skull thing next to you.
Yeah.
You know how you can like, or it's like to your right. Is that my camera left for me? You know, no, I'm not. I'm saying I'm trying to give an example, like how as clearly as I can see something in my periphery, in my peripheral view, a person comes walking out from behind the house, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh shit, we like woke this person up. We're like these, you know, alumnus. We're not even going to Cal Poly. We're just these two dudes sitting here drinking on this person's. No, we weren't drinking, but we're like during my buddy's having a cigarette. And I'm thinking like, okay, let's just get up and apologize because we've woken this person up.
Right.
And they come in and come all the way into my purview. I turn and there's no one there. There's absolutely no one there. And I'm talking like as real as I could see anything in, like it was a person. It had a head. It had a full body. It was walking. It wasn't like floating or anything, but it was just walking like a normal person. And I turned and there was absolutely nothing there.
Wow.
Nothing.
And I turned to my friend and said, holy shit, we've got to get out of here. And because it's like, fuck, I cannot stress how much there was something there. And then all of a sudden I turned to look and it was not there. And I look at my friend and he has his eyes closed and his hand up and he's like, he's like lipping, like, oh, like trying to whisper. And I'm like, dude, we gotta go. He's like, oh, you saw that too? I'm like, yes. Like, did you see it? He's like, yes, I'm trying to talk to it right now. I'm like, why are we trying to talk to it? We need to get the fuck out of here.
Oh no.
And so he's like, and then my friend, he sheds a tear. He starts crying. I'm like, why are you crying? He's like, he's telling me about what happened to him. And see, this is the part of the story that makes me feel like people are not going to think that this actually happened. But I swear to God, there was somebody there and then there was nothing there. And he saw it too. And then we left. And I was like, did we just see a ghost? It's like, I told you that place is haunted. Lots of people have seen ghosts there.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually like, my heart's racing a little bit, guys.
Yeah, that's like really that's not where I thought that was gonna go. But you both of you seeing it, that's the worst. That's the worst thing that could have happened.
Oh,
That.
that's what, like, I turned to him to get this like sense of like, oh, am I just like going nuts? And he saw it too, and I was like, oh shit, I was like, why are we not just running? Like, we need to get out of here.
Instead, Bob began to weep.
Bob,
it's insane because Kenny, I know you as sort of a grounded person.
Yeah.
So if you say that I'm like, it's not some like we all hear stories sometimes where we're like, but you seem to be a very grounded person.
Yeah, it's the kind of story that like I literally forget. Like, it was when you posted on Instagram, do you have a ghost story? I was like, oh, I do. It's not the kind of thing. I don't walk around like proselytizing like ghosts are real. Like, ghosts are real. We should all be embracing the afterlife, the ghosts. We need to save the ghosts. I don't like, there's a whole holiday like dedicated to ghosts, and I'll go through that entire season that we're currently in and forget that I've seen one.
Creepy.
You don't bring that up when you slate your name for auditions? You don't just immediately?
I have seen a ghost.
I would give that out of
How many scare bones?
1 to 10 scare bones?
1 to 10 scare bones.
I'm
1 to
giving
10.
that 7.4.
7 point. Oh, we're doing points. All right, 7.4 scare
I mean,
bones.
I assumed we were.
7.4 scones.
Yeah.
Um,
How's your cocktail?
it's terrible, but it's doing the job.
Here is my story. The year is 1996.
Ooh,
The
baby. Yeah. All right.
The O'Sullivan family, that includes me and Ciara O'Sullivan, are moving to the Finger Lakes region. We're
Nice.
relocating to a small town, really a village, but town, whatever, called Skaneateles. And the
Skinny. Well, hold on. Skinneapolis.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What?
Skinneapolis, like a city, like Minneapolis, but skinny, like thin.
the town is called Skaneateles, 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 New York.
Okay, that's just as silly, but somehow seems better now that I've already said Skinneapolis, which is what I thought it was.
Yeah. So we're moving there. The only house that my parents can afford in this town is this house that everyone in the town, we learn, calls the box on the hill, because it was built in 1804, but it had been remodeled by the previous owners. They like hacked off the side porch, hacked off the front porch, hacked off the cupola, which is like a little tiny house on top of a house with a flat roof. Like if you can picture that, sort of like a little viewing area.
Okay.
Almost like I don't know how to, it's a cupola. If you
I
don't
got
know
it. I got it because you did this.
Okay, all right, yeah, a cupola, flat roof, and then little woohoo. They hacked that off, and there's a parking lot where the yard should be. The house is like all jacked up, but my mom is like, I see the vision. I'm gonna restore it. Okay. We're gonna do this.
Are they moving for work?
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't just find the worst house in Skinneapolis and be like,
no.
We gotta go. Okay.
No, my dad got a job in Syracuse, and so they tried to pick somewhere less shitty than Syracuse, and then that's kind of
hot slam.
What was the job?
My dad works in trucking.
No, I knew that.
Yeah. So nothing too spooky there. Anyway.
I mean, nothing spookier there. You mean?
Nothing spookier.
You're going on adventures. You're on the road. You're seeing spooky stuff day in, day out. That's what Big Trouble in Little China is about.
And then moving day arrives. My aunt and uncle are helping. Everybody's there with the boxes, what have you, moving in. They get all the stuff in the house. It's a mess. But they're popping, my parents are popping a bottle of champagne in the kitchen. And then my mom sees right behind my uncle a woman walk by behind my uncle, not like a shadow or like a semi-figure. She sees a solid woman in Victorian garb walk across the kitchen behind my uncle. And my mom chalked it up to having like a brief mental break from the stress of the move and not sleeping enough, and was just like, my eyes must have been tricking me, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like I couldn't have seen that.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And then we start school in the fall, my siblings and I. And I'm 5, so no one's really chatting about much. But my older siblings are hearing from, like, I pooped. Did you poop? Like, like.
Yeah, I forgot about the dialogue that children have at that age. We're not chatting about much.
No, not much. Like, honestly, this isn't even super my story. You should have my mom on, but it's past her bedtime, so it's me.
Please FaceTime her right now.
Yeah.
Wake her up.
Wake Beth up. Get her on. But my siblings are going to school, and all of their classmates are saying, you moved into the box on the hill. Don't you know it's haunted? Everyone knows it's haunted. Like, ask the Kelly kids who used to live there. They'll tell you that house is really haunted.
This is the plot of Casper.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very, we know this. So my mom sees the Victorian woman again in the house.
In the house.
And meanwhile, my siblings are coming home and they're saying, like, everyone's saying our house is haunted, Mom. Like, what the heck? And we're like sleeping with the lights on. Like, I'm in bed between my parents, like sleep with the lights on. They're like kind of not doing well with this situation. And my mom gets the phone number from the realtor of the former owner, Mrs. Kelly, and calls her and says, like, this is really weird, but did you ever see a woman in the house? And Mrs. Kelly goes, yes, I saw her. She doesn't wish you any ill, but she just wants you to know that she's there. She showed herself to me too.
Realtors are nightmares. That should have been brought up way sooner, not a yes. But
wait, when your parent, because you said you had, like, you were aware of this as a child. Did your parents tell you about this?
I only have memories of sleeping with all the lights on in our new house.
Right.
yeah.
And thinking, why is it that once we moved to Skinny Atlas, now for the first 6 months we sleep with the lights on?
So
yeah,
it was more that your parents were like, hey, there's a Victorian woman walking around. We're going to sleep with the lights on. And
because you're turning to everybody and you're like, look, I went pee pee poo poo today. And they're like distracted. They're like, we don't have any time for that right now. We have to turn on all the lights. And you're like, I went pee pee poo poo. What's the deal?
Yeah.
But you didn't know what was going on.
I didn't. They sort of like sheltered it from me. They tried to like hide it.
Until when?
They told me once then there's like a few years go by, not much action with the Victorian woman. She's like, let her presence be known. She's chilling. And then my parents are stripping the wallpaper in the master bedroom. And they pull down the wallpaper and there's a signature on the wall from Theodore Roosevelt.
Wait a second.
Question.
Yeah.
What? What are you talking? What do you mean? A signature?
Yeah. So in Skinny Atlas, New York, there is a Roosevelt on the lake. It's like a lake town. There is the Roosevelt family had a home, like an upstate New York like house and it's called Roosevelt Hall.
Okay.
And it was their vacation home. I don't know, for the family. But at some point, like early 20th century, like Theodore Roosevelt was in town, was a guest at the house, my family's house, way back, got drunk and signed the wall in the master bedroom. Huge handwriting.
Huge handwriting.
Yeah, like big ass. Yeah.
I'm wasted.
As he was famous to do. And then somebody wallpapered over that?
Yes.
So somebody was like, this isn't going to sell a house. We got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But they didn't get rid of it. They just wallpapered over it.
Right.
Oh my God. All right. So they take down the wallpaper. They see that. Does anything happen after that?
So that prompted my mom to go to the Historical Society because she was like, I would like to either verify this signature or I'd like to like paint my fucking walls. Like, what do you, and the Historical Society was like, oh yeah, that's it. We do have like documentation of that. We have a photograph from the 1950s. That's his signature.
Wow.
It was covered up. And then they were also like, and we have all this other information about your home if you're interested. And so then my mom got information about the people who'd lived in the house and like all the things that had happened. Cause you know, it's like a house from like 1804, like it's really old. And so that's when she learned about like the longest family that lived there, a family that owned the home continuously for over 100 years. And during that time, there were multiple deaths in the home because, you know, at that time, like people just died within their own homes. People didn't live as long, including one child that died and then one woman that was widowed young. And so she was, or potentially would have been, the Victorian woman in the black garb.
Okay. What? That's terrifying.
And no.
Did they paint over TR's signature?
No, my parents mounted a picture frame to the wall and painted all the way around it.
Wow. That's a cool thing to do, but also an insane thing to have, I guess. A cool thing to do, but also like, yeah, you know, Mount Rushmore? That guy signed my bedroom. Like, I'm sorry, what do you mean? Yeah, after they chiseled his face, he signed my bedroom wall.
You never experienced anything beyond that?
There were like things with cabinet doors being opened or closed, doorways, like little things, and like my siblings all experienced the same, and so did like the kids that used to live there.
Wow.
But no,
You never saw the Victorian woman.
Never, no. It seemed to have been something like woman to woman or like wife to wife that she was like, yeah.
Wow, I like that. Just a quick little. Careful of these men that start signing the walls.
I think so.
You gotta watch these men. You never know. They'll put their signature on every wall. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta watch these guys. They'll be signing their name on all your walls. You gotta be careful. That's so scary. But also, I just wonder about your parent. Like, it's such any story that involves like the plot of Poltergeist, where it's like, what do? You just turn to your kids and go, so we framed the signature and we found out about the woman and we lived very happily there for a little while.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was it. Well, thank you for having me, fellas. This was a delight.
Thank you for doing it. Talk soon.
See you in the Finger Lake.
See you in the Finger Lakes.